The snow was falling so hard that morning it blurred the world into gray and white. People hurried past the small gas station without looking twice, their heads down, their coats pulled tight against the freezing wind. But just inside the glass doors stood a thin teenage boy whose life had already pushed him to the edge of survival. His jacket was soaked, his hands were shaking from the cold, and slung over his shoulders was a large German shepherd whose blood-stained paw hung limp against the boy's chest. The dog's breathing was slow and weak, and every step the boy took looked like it might be his last. In his trembling hand was a single $10 bill, the last money he had in the world. Before we continue this story, take a second to support kindness. If you believe small acts of compassion can change lives, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories. The boy had been living on the streets for months, drifting between abandoned bus stops, old shelters, and the corners of quiet alleys where the wind was slightly weaker. Hunger had become normal. Cold had become normal. Loneliness had become normal. But the one thing that still hurt every single day was seeing how invisible he had become to the world around him. People walked past him without seeing him. Cars drove by without slowing. To most strangers, he wasn't a person anymore, just another shadow in the city. That morning, while searching through a dumpster behind a grocery store, he heard something that stopped him. A soft, broken whimper came from the alley behind a stack of frozen trash bags. When he walked closer, he saw the German shepherd lying in the snow, barely moving. The dog's paw was badly injured, blood mixing with melting snow beneath him. One of his legs shook as he tried to stand but collapsed again almost instantly. The boy could have kept walking. He barely had the strength to survive himself. But something about the dog's tired eyes, filled with fear and quiet trust, made it impossible for him to leave. Carefully, he lifted the heavy dog onto his shoulders. The animal didn't fight. Instead, it rested its head against the boy's neck as if it knew this stranger was its only chance. Step by step, through snow and biting wind, the boy carried the dog across the street toward the small gas station where people sometimes bought food and warm drinks. Inside the store, the bright lights made everything feel warmer, but the boy still trembled from exhaustion. A man behind the counter looked up, clearly surprised to see a muddy teenager with a wounded dog draped over his shoulders. The boy slowly pulled the crumpled $10 bill from his pocket, the last money he had saved for food that night, and placed it on the counter. He didn't ask for anything fancy. Just something simple to clean the wound. Maybe some bandages. Maybe something to help the dog survive. The cashier stared at the money for a long moment, then at the boy's face. Snow melted off the boy's hair and ran down his cheeks like tears. His jacket was torn, his backpack nearly empty, and yet the only thing he seemed to care about was the injured dog barely clinging to life on his shoulders. The man silently turned and grabbed a small first aid kit from behind the counter. But instead of charging the boy, he gently pushed the $10 bill back across the counter. Then something unexpected happened. A woman who had been standing near the coffee machine stepped closer. She had watched the entire moment in silence. Without saying a word, she pulled out her phone and took a picture of the boy holding the dog. Within hours, that single image began spreading across social media. People everywhere were stunned by what they saw, a homeless teenager giving up his last $10 to help a wounded animal. A boy who had nothing, yet still chose kindness. By evening, thousands of people had shared the photo. By the next morning, millions had seen it. Donations began pouring in from strangers around the world who were moved by the boy's compassion. Local shelters began searching the streets to find him. A nearby veterinary clinic offered to treat the dog completely free of charge. But the biggest surprise came a few days later. The injured German shepherd, once cleaned and examined, was discovered to have a microchip. The dog actually belonged to a retired search and rescue trainer who had been desperately searching for him for weeks. When the trainer finally met the boy who had saved his dog, he saw something rare, a teenager who had nothing, yet carried the heart of someone extraordinary. Instead of simply thanking him, the trainer offered the boy a job helping train rescue dogs. He also helped him find a safe place to live and enroll back in school. What started as a freezing morning with a single $10 bill turned into the moment that changed the boy's entire future. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists in this world, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. And before we finish, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one small act of compassion can change someone's life forever. Because sometimes the greatest miracles don't start with money, power, or luck. Sometimes they start with a homeless teenager, a wounded dog, and the courage to spend the last $10 he had, just to save a life. Heart.